obscure world of parking. We use it every day, but have we really capitalized on the intricacies of our industry? In this podcast, the Parking Network will go behind the scenes and talk to industry professionals about all things parking, from the horizon of evolving technology and even stories of the old days. We hope to encourage and inspire operators and property managers alike to look at parking through a new lens. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Our Parking Industry podcast. We are so excited to be back with you. On this episode, we are going to talk about all things operations. We're going to take it and look from the inside out. Operations is Clyde's bread and butter. It's where he started in the industry, and so it's kind of his home base, if you will. We are going to reach out and touch all of the other bases throughout this season, throughout the podcast in general, and we hope that you will stick around and hang in there as we talk through operations. Maybe it's not so applicable to you, but the next episode may hit you right in the heart. We'll see. We're glad you're here, and take it away, Lee.
Yeah, we're here at episode 2, and our focus is parking managers and operators. And so, Clyde, I would love to get a story from you maybe this morning of use your imagination and tell us all, what does a great day look like for our parking managers and operators? We here at TPN know that they have such a tough job, but they do a great job at it. So what does a great day look like for these guys?
It's really interesting because we are in an industry that in the morning, somewhere between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m., every customer across the country that we're going to have that day, almost everyone, is on the freeway headed toward us, and they are coming no matter what. They're headed our way, and we have to invite them all in, get the gates to go up, issue a ticket, read their card, record that they're there, and get them into the garage and into a parking space without struggling to do that. I think as a parking operator, we always felt like it was our job to make it so that our customers didn't really think about us. They just came in and didn't jump through any hurdles in trying to get to a parking space. They just came in and did it. So believe it or not, every morning, these guys across the country, the people in the parking business, all of them, they have to get all the cars off the street. And coming from somebody who a couple of times in my history didn't get all the cars off the street, I understand how important that is, because a couple of times, and maybe this is just one of those lessons everybody has to learn the hard way, like all of my lessons, a couple of times at 7 o'clock in the morning, the gate didn't go up. And so now you have cars backing up down the street. You have customers out of their car trying to help the one in front. And so it's a really, really bad start to the morning. So once you go through that a couple of times, as a good parking manager or as a parking manager, you either decide this isn't for me, or you realize I have to be prepared. You don't get to take a day off of being prepared. You have to be prepared every single day to get everybody in, which means all the gates go up and down. And believe it or not, some people don't get this right. Actually, all your ticket spitters have to be full of tickets. They can't really get in if they hit the button and it just looks at them. Have all the monthly parkers correctly entered so that if you're a live monthly parker and you're paid, the gate goes up for you. So you have to do all those things. So parking management is one of those behind the scenes things that most people really don't see. The only thing they really see as to whether you're a good manager or not is that the cars are in. They're in their parking space. So that's kind of the day in the life of a parking manager, is being prepared. You also have to be prepared that a part of that is when you get them in, it has to be a clean, well-lit, safe-feeling facility. So your day starts out on the street as the cars are coming. They go through your entry. Everything works smoothly. Everybody comes in. Everybody finds their place. And when they come in, it's a nice, clean facility, and nobody has to think about their concern that it's not clean and maybe not safe.
So our garage managers and operators, they have to be so good at so many things, don't they? They have to be good at managing the physical space. They have to be great at customer service. And then, Clyde, you mentioned in a meeting earlier that we have this new e-commerce layer where they have to manage their computer and they have to manage third-party reservations. So talk to us about that. What are all the different hats that our managers and operators have to wear on a regular day?
Well, the story that you guys have heard me tell it before, and I like to tell the story because I think it's so appropriate. Um, if you look at other industries, and so my example is always Target or Walmart. Um, when you look at them, they have, if you walk into a Walmart, you can see 20 or so cashier islands lined up in front of you. They're all right there. They're all doing something else that's really important. They all have the exact same hardware and the exact same software. So all 20 of those all have the same hardware, all have the same software. If you move from this cashier island to that cashier island, you don't need extra training to be able to make that one work. So they have 20 plus, and you see people standing around in their Walmart uniform. So those are managers or people that are helpers to help the cashiers if they have a problem. So if a cashier has a problem customer, a problem piece of equipment, a problem software, a problem with a product, trying to scan it, the cashier turns their light on and there's a manager or a helper right there and they see the light and they walk over and they have their key and they stick it in and they do a few quick things and all of a sudden everything works and they walk away. Um, if we turn our light on, our cashiers turn the light on, well, they're 7 blocks down and 4 blocks to the left and nobody sees the light. Nobody. They're on their own. So we have a parking cashier sitting in 40, 60, 100 garages and surface lots in a city, and nobody's going to come when they turn their light on. So that again is one of those things behind the scenes that most people don't realize. Parking managers have to be very prepared for that every day. If you're in Walmart, I have re-looked back at the numbers. So Walmart's or a superstore does $400 or $500 million a year, and some of them the average is over $1 billion a year. So they do a lot of transactions, but they're also lined up. And the other thing about us is very few of our locations have the same model of equipment or the same version of software. Um, so every location is kind of different. So instead of 25 cashier islands, all with the same hardware and software, we have 100 cashier islands. None of them have the same hardware or software. So it's a very different kind of business that has this tremendous need for parking managers to be um, prepared day to day. And parking managers generally are. I mean, you don't drive around a lot of cities at 8 o'clock in the morning and see cars backed up down the street because the people in the parking business don't get credit for the job they do. But they really, when you do that, when you drive through a city at 8 o'clock in the morning and there are no cars lined up down the street, they've done a good job. They're prepared. They were ready because they just had 1,000 cars came. 1,000 cars that are monthly parkers that get in with their monthly card, um, daily parkers that are coming for the day, maybe working in the building, but they don't work there every day. Early birds who know exactly what they're doing. They're like a monthly parker. They come in and pull their ticket. And then in a couple hours, the transients are going to come who know a lot less about that particular facility. So they have all of those different levels of customers. They're all coming. They're not going to wait on you. They're coming, and you don't have anybody to help you. I mean, you do, but they're a long way away. They're not standing over there waiting. So it's an interesting kind of business for us. And it's one of those businesses that people don't really see the things that we do to be really good at this business. But I can tell you, I cover the country and look at operations and look at different cities all over the place. And the parking operations people do a really, really good job of getting the cars off the street. So go to one of my rules to live by in the parking business: getting the cars off the street and the money in the bank. They do that.
You'll hear more of Clyde's rules if you listen to future podcasts. I'm sure he has a tendency to
I have them
sprinkle.
sitting right here on my desk looking at me.
Yeah, he has a tendency to sprinkle them like confetti everywhere he goes. So it just kind of blows my mind what these brave people do every day to get our cars off the streets. So what kind of training do our parking operators and maybe even the managers, how do they get trained to manage all these different types of transactions, all this different type of equipment, all these different types of people? What resources do they have?
um, I'm not even sure I know how to answer that question because I think most of their job is most of their training is on the job training. They go out there and do it every day, and they learn as they go. Their supervisors have expectations of them, so they try to meet those expectations by getting the cars off the street. But it's I don't. I mean, we audit parking companies all over the place, and I don't think we really see. It's one of our questions in our audit program. I don't think we really see a big training program out there for parking people. They learn as they go, but they have good supervisors above them that have high expectations for them. So they learn on the job with strong leadership above them.
Would you recommend that they network, that they find other managers and operators of other facilities and learn from each other and talk and help each other out? Would you recommend that?
I always think that's a tremendous part of any business that people in it, the people that have been in it 4 or 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, are helping the people that just came in. It's a very, very important part of our business. And there are some segments of our business where I don't think the managers have the opportunity to do that. Um, in the commercial operations business, they do. Um, they do have people around them that they know. Do I think the parking operators do enough to do that? No, I don't. I don't think they spend enough time on that. I think it's something that would be good for all of them to spend more time um, training their managers. And that, but that's a great question, um, that Lee, but it's not something I see a lot. I mean, those of us, the older guys in the business that sit around at conventions, we talk about it all the time, but that's not the young guys that are out there on the streets doing it every.
When you were talking earlier, one of the things it made me think of was that every location has different mechanical equipment, different software, different procedures for the garage, different types of parkers that come in. The time frame, the 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., that applies more heavily to the commercial office building, but it still is applicable to airports and universities and things like that. So when we're talking about marketing, that's kind of hard because everyone is in their own little organism trying to make it function the best they can. And it's difficult to kind of bridge the gap between your next door neighbor or, the guy down the street. And what is the common thread for everyone? Like, what's the thing that every parking operator and manager has in common that they can start to kind of connect the dots with?
I think I can answer that correctly. The main thing is getting the cars off the street and the clean, safe, good appearance facility. You want everybody to. It's that we mentioned it earlier. They don't even know we exist. They just come in, get to their parking space. Our customers don't have to think about it. So, as a manager, if your goal is to make sure all of my 1,000 customers that are coming at me every day don't even have to think about it, they're just going to drive in. When they pull into the entry island, they're not worried, is the gate going to go up? If they pull into the entry island, they're not worried, is the ticket spitter going to give me a ticket? If they pull into the entry island, they're not worried that their card's not going to work. And as they come in, they're not worried that there's not a space for them. They know there's going to be one, and they park. So for us, it's making it almost invisible to our customers. You just pull off the street and get to a parking space.
So the operators and managers need to be the Wizard of Oz of parking. They're behind the scenes making it all work by
it
being prepared, right?
right. I mean, it's very easy for me to say those things, but having done them, I realize it is really hard to be sure that if you're the manager of a city that has 50, 100 locations, to every day you have to wake up and know that all 100 of those locations, all of those thousands and thousands of customers are going to get in every day. There are not many businesses like this. And the part of that is there are a lot of businesses that have customers coming at them every day. But our businesses are alone. They're alone. You've got Johnny at the corner of 4th and Main and Sally at the corner of 3rd and Market Street. They're not all in the same building. They're all over the place. So, it didn't take me very long after being in the parking business for a few years to realize that to be a good manager in this business, you have to really understand what your challenges are. And it becomes pretty obvious pretty quickly whether you can do this or not. So if you're around for 5 years, you survive. But it's a tough run.
And another component that we here at TPN help our our customers with is when our managers or operators realize that they need something in their facility, they need training or new equipment or better procedures or new lighting for safety. They have to approach the owners and sell the thing that they really need to make their jobs better and more accessible to their customers. So what pro tips or what advice do you have in that situation?
Well, that's really a bigger answer for a bigger question too. But you do need all those things, and you do have a budget. Most all the commercial parking operations have a budget. All of the universities, airports, every parking operation out there, cities, municipalities have a budget. So you have some budget leeway. Most contracts have minimum purchase requirements that you can purchase up to $500 or $1,000 without having to ask for it. When you go over that, it's a bigger purchase and you have to ask for it. So I just was talking a half a year ago or so to a university parking manager, and we were just talking about the challenges of that were coming up in this new year that she was going into. And this answer that applied to her very much, I think applies to everybody in our business. One of the skills a good parking manager has to have is the ability to present to the people above you that you're asking for. So if you're asking for new things that are over the budget requirements that your contract has, you have to know how to ask for those things. And I, over the years, I think it's been something that I have noticed very much. And it was the reason I brought it up. I don't think parking managers do a lot of training and thinking about how to present to people who don't really understand our business. Remember, we've spent all this time talking about in the last 10 minutes about how people don't really even recognize what it takes to be a parking manager because you don't see us. As long as the cars get in, as long as everybody comes in, nobody's calling and complaining, nobody's seeing you. So we're not. So people don't really realize some of the challenges that we have. You have to be good at being able to understand how to present a challenge to the owners or to the people you report to. I need this. I need some new signs. Things have changed. The traffic light down the street has changed. Something else has changed. It's causing our customers to use another entry more than this one. Um, the parking equipment that we have is not working. Here's what happens when that does not work. And I've seen that. I can't even count the number of times that we've been into an audit and we've seen letters sent to the building owner manager about we need new parking equipment, and the letter's 5 years old. and they didn't get it. Well, you know, somebody when that happens, somebody's got to do a better job of presenting the challenges. And the challenges of our parking equipment's not working, we're going to mess up on customers driving in the garage every day and not knowing that we even exist. They just drive to their space because the parking equipment is going to start getting unreliable. We're also going to notice a drop in revenue because the money's not all getting to the bank. We're going to notice all of these problems. So when you learn how to do a presentation, you don't write a letter or an email to the building manager that says we need new parking equipment. You go through the steps of the things that are impacting our business day to day. This is why we need it. And then you have to learn, here's what's out there. Here's what we can buy to do this. It's either advanced repairs, so maybe we need $15,000 worth of repairs or $3,000 worth of repairs. Here's why we need this. I never thought that parking managers did a very good job at preparing a presentation to the owners to get the things that you need to operate every day. And guess what, guys? We're entering a new age where people are going to be asking for things that the owners have no clue. I want to start doing QR codes in my garage. And I want to not buy new equipment. We're going to do this, and we're going to do transaction fees. So every customer is going to be charged $2 on every transaction. Um, I We're going to set up a different way for the customers to communicate. We're not going to put an intercom button on the gate anymore. We're not going to put the one that I heard this week. That was a big challenge for the parking operator that I was talking to. We're going to move away from credit card readers. So we've already moved from cash to credit card, and now we're trying to move away from credit card readers. Presenting that above you is an art. It's an art. And that's becoming and going to become probably one of the most important things a new parking manager is going to have to learn to do is preparing that presentation of, I need a new gate for $4,000, or I need to get rid of the credit card reader. And we're going to do this a different way. And the customers, we're going to have to train the customers, but here's the way it's going to work. This communicating us in the future is going to become a bigger and bigger part of our business. Does that answer your question?
So there's been a lot of talk just now about how the evolution of the things that the operator is facing day to day is moving so quickly. And I love that you introduced the idea of not only telling them what they need, but the why. Like, why do we need that? And that's the selling point. So again, another hat that the operator or the operator manager needs to wear. But that's pretty, I say simple, but it's pretty direct. Here's the how and the why. Here's the how, here's the why. And that's a pretty, I don't know, equation to sell yourself or to sell what your garage needs to make it function at its best.
Yes, it's that's a very good way to put it, Chris, to the how and the why. And it's selling is one thing, but presenting something to an owner above you that the owner's going to have to spend money on, or change the way his customers down below interact with parking, and they don't like that. They're getting in the garage today. Why are you going to do something different? Right? I don't understand. So you have to be able to explain these things very well. And I really think that we are not spending enough time preparing new managers for that. And I'm gonna tell a quick little story here because we've talked about this, how hard a parking manager's job is, but we don't really see them very much. I'm going to see if I can tell the story correctly. Since I worked in the corporate office of Central Parking, we had people that were hired that came in to the office, and they were being trained sometime for a bigger job. So in 1982, I think, Central Parking at that time managed a parking garage in Detroit for the motor companies. So we had pretty good connections in Detroit. And we needed new high-level managers coming in. So they interviewed a guy that was president of the Ford Motor Company division in 1982 and hired him. So one day, sitting across from my office in the office across the road there, across the aisle, I had a president of Ford Motor Company's E-Division sitting right there. And I thought, man, this is great. I get to pay attention to him and learn how he manages. Look at how much I can learn from this guy. We fired him 3 months later. He couldn't do this business. I was the one that had to put him in my car and drive him home.
Plot twist. Wow.
You weren't ready for that, were you? But it is a very, very different business, and it's a challenge for people, and they don't realize how big of a challenge it is because you don't really see us very much until something goes bad. And when the car's lying down the street and to the left, then you kind of all of a sudden know we exist. But the rest of the time, you don't.
Nice. Well, I think we'll probably end it there. I would love in another episode to go into the customer service aspect of being a parking manager. I think that deserves a little bit of airtime because that's a whole nother piece to this whole thing. So what does happen if there is a complication? So how can they manage that and how can they be prepared to handle the customer service piece? Well, thanks for your questions, Lee, and thanks for your chat, Clyde. See you next time. Glad y'all are here. To quote one of the greatest business minds of our time, Charles Munger, he said, "The best thing a human can do is help another human being know more." Here on our Parking Industry Podcast, we want to provide knowledge and resources. If you heard something that sparked your curiosity in today's episode, please reach out on our socials at TPN Consulting. You can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Don't forget to subscribe and follow. See you next time on Our Parking Industry.